Kospi, though, because as we mentioned, it's pretty resilient, and you have a Kospi target of around 2250, which is a little bit higher than where we are right now. Why?
Right. Kospi will move up higher from here because we think that the global demand is recovering. Korea is definitely a trade-oriented economy that depends heavily on the developed market demand and also some of the emerging markets. And we see that the global demand is starting to pick up, and the Korea export is doing really good actually at this point. February Korea export was up 20% year on year.
Yeah, but if you hear right now the mood on the ground, I'm not surprised that consumer confidence has just taken a hit. With everything that's going on with the impeachment, how will the ruling today affect the markets?
Right. I think that was the weak link in terms of the Korean economy. The consumer confidence was pretty weak at this point, but we think that with the ruling today, that could actually start to improve because it removes a lot of the uncertainty from the market and the economy.
Right, and the Korean won just weakening. Of course, yesterday it fell also to the lowest level in a month or so. How will that offset some of the consumer confidence that has been hit?
Well, for Korean, currency, that actually depends more on the Fed monetary policy. We recently changed our house view that the Fed will hike the rate 3 times this year instead of 2 times. So that will likely impact the emerging market currency, and Korean won could further depreciate from the current level.
And of course, after the ruling, if President Park is ousted, we are going to see elections take place. There's a big likelihood at this point, according to the polls, that the main opposition party might win that election. What sort of economic impact will that have on South Korea?
Right. The key factor that we're looking at is the chaebol reform. Not just the opposition party, but all presidential candidates at this point, they're pledging that the chaebol reform has to happen. I think this current political scandal is tied to that. And if that happens, I think it would actually help the overall economy, and also I guess the Korea discount is because of the chaebol issues, and if chaebol reform takes place, then I think the Korea discount could unwind and the market could move up higher from here.
Yeah, and one of those key points when it comes to chaebol reform is also the ownership structure reform, which is always an issue in South Korea. What would that look like?
Well, if you look at Samsung and the Hyundai, these big chaebol business groups, they have very complicated cross-holding structures. And if the chaebol reform bills do pass the parliament, and we think that that complicated shareholding structure needs to be untangled, and Samsung and the Hyundai may have to move to a holding company structure, which will unlock a lot of the value.
And you mentioned geopolitical tensions as well. That's, of course, affecting the South Korean markets. One of those points right now is the anti-missile defense system, the THAAD missile system that's being deployed. Your call earlier, before the deployment, was that if the Democratic Party actually took power, that could get scrapped. How has your view changed since this past week?
Right. The U.S. has been accelerating the process of a THAAD deployment in Korea, and our call before that was we were hoping that the presidential election will take place, and the opposition party presidential candidates are actually calling for scrapping the plan. But now that the process has accelerated, it seems like it's going to be difficult for that to happen. But still, I'm a little bit hopeful that once the new president comes in, that he will reconsider the THAAD deployment.